What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the TJR Auto channel. My name is Tyler, and in today's video we are finally beginning the dreadful process of paint and bodywork on my '04 GTO Gemma Rose. So for those who don't know, a quick, short, light, sweet summary. Basically, this is Gemma, my '04 GTO. I got this car a couple years ago and the front end was completely totaled, but it's got a clean title. So me and my buddy put a lot of work into this thing, cut the whole front end off, put a new donor front clip on it, so the car is now straight, drives good, all that jazz, but we never did anything cosmetic to it. So obviously we have a black side skirt, a black fender with a dent, a little bit of rust on it, but nothing major. The front bumper's in relatively good shape, but I did have to patch in this Pontiac emblem spot when I put this bumper on, so that's gonna need some body work. And the biggest part here is going to be the hood. Now this is a custom built hood that I did myself. It's a Fiberglass ZL1 style eBay fiberglass scoop from eBay, and it is grafted onto a metal '04 black hood. It came off the same car as these panels. I did a lot of work on this a while ago and then kind of just left it when I ran out of material. So obviously we got to address this. We got a crack here which needs some love. And this line all around it basically is where I sanded too much of the filler off so that you can see where the cowl is joined to the hood. So definitely need some more work here, and this whole center section's cattywampus, and I think that's where I want to start. So I want to knock the gel coat off of this, and then we can work on pulling out some very rigged supports I have underneath, you guys will see, and start laying some fiberglass in here to strengthen it before we deal with any sort of actual body work. And boom. So that took a lot longer than I'd like to admit, but we got her down. So I think we're down far enough that at least the majority of the gel coat is gone. And the way I know that is because when I was sanding by hand and with that, which also my compressor doesn't keep up, so I'm sure that's going to be good for painting. There was the black primer I put on, then there was another layer, then there was the gel coat, and then there's this. The gel coat basically kept gumming up the sandpaper and was super nasty, so I could tell when I was through it. And you can already tell in some spots we kind of broke down through into the fiberglass itself. So I think this is a good enough spot, and if this doesn't work, then you guys know what not to do. But with it being sanded all the way down like that, I think we are now ready to pull out the random supports that I put in place, which you can see there, one in the back. So we got two up front, one in the back. So I think those, if I remember correctly, are these screws. I think they're just like a long screw holding rubber pieces together just so that this wouldn't flex super heavily. When we pull them out, if I remember correctly, the hood's gonna wanna dip down a little bit, which is okay, because we bought some fiberglass mat, some resin hardener for that, and then I forgot to order this too, so that's more of the actual bodywork stuff. But yeah, so plan is gonna be pull out those supports, let the scoop go back to its relaxed, droopy stage, and then from there we can build it up, and then at that point we can then focus on getting this whole top section built up, evened out, and smooth. Oh, we got one. We got one. All right, what's this one made out of? Any guesses? Because I really don't remember. All right, so we got pieces of fiberglass, and I think this is two like rubber bushings duct taped together. I'm just a genius, don't be jealous. So with those three little spacer mount holder thingies, this is a lot more flexible. And honestly, I thought it was gonna droop more. I thought it kind of relaxed, sat like that. So that kind of sucks because I had planned on filling in like a very large void. But nonetheless, this spot is super low here. So I think we can get away with doing some, lay some fiberglass in this pocket right here. And our best move probably will be pulling the hood off the car and using some of the mat and resin to reinforce the back side of this. We don't really care about clearance from basically here all the way to about here. And then our air filter hole is roughly this area. It's the highest point. And that's the only space that we actually need clearance between the scoop and the hood. So back here we can get away with doing whatever we need to. So This back lip I did have to shave down a good bit to clear the cowl, which it might still rub honestly, but we still have to do a lot of work back there anyways, so our best move might be put some matte and resin right in this pocket here, just to kind of get this filled up without having to use a lot of filler. And then we can pull the hood off the car, flip it over, and lay a lot inside the scoop. Yes, this is probably wrong, but in my head, I figure if we can build this up with actual fiberglass, then there's going to be less filler overall on this. So really, this section right here was a super deep pocket. So again, I'd rather fill it up with actual fiberglass and then work it with some body filler kind of around the general vicinity, and not just have a super thick chunk of Bondo on there just waiting to pop off any day. Alrighty, so as I let the fiberglass section dry or cure, I started kind of just sanding stuff. So to get rid of the line that I have all the way around the cowl itself, that was basically just caused by me the last time when I, stopped working on this. I didn't leave enough filler over the gap. So I was almost thinking of ways to try and fill the gap with filler and just have a very little on top, or this is one of those things where you can't just Google it and get an answer. You kind of just got to figure it out for yourself and take some knowledge from people and mix it all up to make something work. So what I think I'm going to do is I've just been going at this with some 60 grit just to really try to get everything knocked down smooth. And we have a couple low spots you can see here, here. That's actually, it's good that I had this in black primer because you can tell where we're super low. But for the most part, this is pretty smooth all the way across both ways. So what I'm thinking is we'll do a skim coat, like very, very, very light skim coat of filler, basically from this point down to maybe around here-ish, because that almost gets us to this body line. So we just want a very light skim just to kind of cover this line. And it's gonna be hard. I'm probably gonna break through a couple times and have to redo certain spots, but the hard part with doing this body work is you gotta get it there and then not do too much. If you do too much, you get left with stuff like this where you break through, and you don't want that. So good thing I bought a lot of filler. Well, a lot of sanding later, and I had realized I kind of screwed myself because this side was like a super high spot, so I spent a lot of time knocking this down as much as I could. Well, not really. There's probably still more to go here. But for the most part, this is pretty smoothed over, and coming from this point, we're pretty close, and we're definitely still a touch low where I'm dragging my fingers right now. So what I'm thinking is we're not going to lay any more fiberglass up in here because it just is taking entirely way too long to try to sand back out. I probably used way too much hardener and now it's a brick, but I figure we'll use fiberglass reinforced filler, like short strand fiberglass, up here to basically get rid of, there's a little divot here, to get rid of this nook here, and to make a smooth transition from where I had originally cut out. This had scoops in it, like vents, that I had to cut out and then fiberglass over. So this whole area is kind of built by me and it is very not good, but we're gonna make it decent. Yeah, so basically been working on that, and then earlier did a little bit of work to the front bumper. That looks okay. We got this screw countersunk, so this is all, well, this is gonna need fiberglass filler, so I'll do that at the same time as I do this stuff. And then the rest of this, over here at least, this section, is looking pretty good. So I think we can get away with just a normal, you know, using normal filler, do a skim coat over this whole area. So I think we're all right on this side. This section of the front, I think we're okay. Like I said, up here we're good. Up to this point, we're gonna need to do some short strand fiberglass work. And then this side, I haven't unearthed yet. I figure I'll do that on camera, but it doesn't seem like I left it too bad. It looks like we got a little bulge here that I never finished. Here we can see a pretty good divot. Here's another little low spot. So definitely a lot of work that still needs to be done, but I think since we got this roughly knocked down, what I want to do is pull the hood off, flip it over, and try reinforcing this stuff from the back just to really beef it up. Once that stuff is dried or cured, we can flip this back over and then start doing our short strand fiberglass work and then our skim coat. Oh, baby, this thing is fucking heavy. Gentle. Okay. Wham bam, thank you ma'am. So with our art piece on our workbench, basically what I'm thinking is I'm gonna fix all of this butchery back here. So really we just need to thin out everything here, and then I figure we will take that glass and the resin and basically try to lay it as far in as we can, but really build up this whole back edge. And again, try to reach in and see what we can make happen. Been a little bit since I have filmed anything. I had to take a break because I started to lose my mind after I screwed myself in a pretty bad way. The last thing that I'd left off showing you guys was trying to reinforce the bottom side, which I knew was a bad idea, but I was really hoping I could make it work one way or another. And no, it totally backfired. So this fiberglass cloth is not the same stuff I used the first time around when I built up this area, when I deleted the vents. So the first time around when I had used the fiberglass mat, it's basically like a tight woven fiberglass, whereas this cloth is more loose woven, I guess. And I was able to use a paintbrush to distribute the resin over that, and it worked beautifully. Didn't have any issues with it. When I went to do it here, with my long paintbrush thing that I made. That's horrible. Instead of it distributing the resin, it instead just started pulling on the mat one way or another, and it made just a ball of fiberglass between the hood and the cowl, or between the scoop. So yeah, that's how it looks. I got most of it out when it was still wet, which is that ball over there. But I lost my mind. The hood fell. So then of course it scuffed up the entire center section and I lost my shit. Now obviously, A, I don't know what I'm doing, and B, I could easily just not use this footage and act like everything is going hunky-dory. Clearly it's not. I'm here to show you guys my mistakes so that you know not to do the same shit as me. In this manner, if I had used the fiberglass mat instead of the cloth, I probably could have gotten away with using the brush to distribute it. It wouldn't have picked it up and started getting all clumpy and weird. So obviously that's on me. It's not like it was a part defect or anything. That's just me not using it correctly. So I've cooled off a little bit and what I'm gonna do is just allow that stuff to cure, and then I'm gonna have to deal with getting in there and trying to knock whatever nasty stuff down later. Clearly, we're not gonna be able to reinforce this from the back though. So right now we're trying to, as they would say, or as I've seen Pole Barn Garage say, we're trying to rough in the bodywork right now. Take care of all the big stuff, then you can get it in the primer, and then from there you work out the little kinks. Now I'll go on my little X. Work my way back up. I'm trying to avoid this little strip here since that does have some of the resin on it. Now I'll work just in the valley of the hood scoop. Extend my work area down to there. Work this outer part on our seam. Bit more sanding off camera, just in this vicinity. Also scuffed up, tagged the rest of the hood here. Can't touch this corner still because we got the fiberglass resin drying. Yeah. Everything here feels pretty good. I did find another low spot here. Same basically as those two. So again, those I'm not too worried about, but I did find them. This edge seems to be all right. And everything else here feels good. I don't feel anything super wompy. So I think we'll be able to get away with trying to put the most minimal amount of regular filler over both edges. So I think we're good basically all the way around it. I would like to do some sanding on this area that I previously had worked on, just to try to get this smoothed out as well. I know this is definitely going to need some normal filler, and then again, we will have to fill this with short strand up here before we actually put regular filler up top. So I'm gonna get to sanding here and then we'll chat again. All right, I've got a bunch of goop mixed up, probably way more than I need, but we're just gonna start laying it in. I don't wanna go too heavy and make too much work for myself. I also don't wanna go too light though, to the point of where I'm gonna have to do another coat of this stuff. Here, we can kind of just slather it in. As long as we aim it to be in the correct places, should be all right. This is a little high here. That should be a little low. Just work it in. And obviously before I did this, I cleaned the surfaces about 10 times over just to make sure that bad prep won't bite me in the ass, even though it might. You can kind of just get whatever in there that we can. All right, I think we're gonna call that good for round one of short strand. So once it dries up, we can start sanding, see if we got any low spots, hit it again, keep on moving. This is how she currently looks. We are letting number 3, this is the third round, I think, of short strand glass on our low spots. I kind of just keep broadening the work area, because once you build it up in one spot and smooth it out with another, then you find out right next to it's low. So it's kind of been playing that game. Again, this hood scoop is a piece of shit, and really I should have went with a higher quality one, if not just buy a cowl hood. But anyways, it's gonna take a lot more work to get this thing smoothed out. While that third coat's been drying though, I took advantage of my time and got the rat's nest of a mess up out from between the hood and the scoop. Now basically what I did was I took my long pry bar so I could reach in and was able to kind of set it up on an angle to most of the spots where it was clumped up and looked bad, and I was able to kind of strike it with one hand and split that fiberglass off. When I realized that I had messed up that whole back area, I took my broom and tried pulling the stuff out, and I got a lot of it out. I got, again, all of this stuff out, but I wasn't successful with all of it. So there was a lot of stuff back there that essentially looked like this, and it was on the back of the scoop, kind of pulled off towards the hood. So any of the spots where it was flipped up, I was able to strike and get off, and then I've been using this to smooth out a lot of those areas. So we're in a lot better shape. I'm not really too stressed about it now. To get it perfect, after, you know, cleanup wise, to get it really nice underneath, I'll deal with that later. But for now, I basically can flip the hood back up onto the car. Once this coat has cured, I can sand it down. If I need to do another, I will. I probably will. And then we should be ready to move on to normal filler. So it still looks like this. After I got my most recent or last layer of short strand on, basically as soon as I was finished up sanding it, my buddy actually stopped over. We ended up bullshitting for a couple hours, so I'll take catching up with a friend over more progress on this, because this is just kind of a slow and steady pace thing, you know, just to try to make it as decent as I can for as bad as it's going to be. So I think we're in a pretty good spot with our short strand work. I wouldn't mind cleaning out, filling in all these like little low spots here. Obviously this still needs normal filler over it, but I don't know. I just feel like it'd be nice if this was all filled in and kind of knocked smooth before we put filler on top of it. But got this area worked out nice, had a little spot here, a little divot here. So got this worked in pretty good. Had to extend the work area out to here, little spot there. So overall, we're in pretty good shape there, but I do need to build up this back area here as well as this spot here before we do, you know, our final normal filler. So I think I'm gonna put a little bit of short strand into those two spots and then into our tiny areas here. Hopefully it'll dry up quick, get it knocked down, and then move right on to normal filler. Something like that. So I guess my best move is kind of just trying to do I'll try to do a pull down from the top. I'll try not using a lot. Something like that, I think. Really, we're just trying to put a credit card thickness over this little crack that we have showing, the little seam. Right there, I'm a little light, so I'll try to fade it out just like that. There we go, walk it towards the back edge. I figure the smoother I can get it now, the less work I got to do later. That's the idea, at least. And right here is where we have one of our low spots. I'm trying to be mindful of that and getting there as well. Same right there, got a little low spot. Try to fill her in. Now this whole corner is going to need some, since we did the screw, we recessed the screw over here, and this corner was lifted and cracked. So that one's going to need a little bit of work. So I'm going to try to leave it a little heavy there. Give me some working room. All right, not bad. here, same deal. It's gonna start a little high, pull a little low. And the only thing that's gonna be really hard about doing this for our complete product, our final product, is I just need to know when to stop sanding. And that's one thing that I've never really been able to comprehend, because in my eyes, you just sand until you can't. But really, with doing something like this, you need to, at some point, you gotta stop. Because when you go too far, like I did the first time, then you get stuck with the exposed joint all the way around. Okay, so I did put a little extra hardener in the short strand, so that stuff dried up pretty quickly. So got that all knocked down, got our back edge, our little spot, a little chip, got that built up just as much as it needs to. Same with the one over here. Those are gonna need a little more work from the back, but obviously that's not right now's problem. But we got everything smoothed out, cleaned up, and we're still waiting for this stuff to dry totally. It's almost there, but not enough to sand. So I figure I might as well coat this whole center section in filler, and then I can just give everything an ample amount of time to dry. I have to run over to my buddy Alex's house and try to help him yank a transmission out of a Grand Marquis. Unfortunately, it's an automatic transmission coming out of a Marquis, but nonetheless, Marquis. So let's get our center section laid up, and then we'll resume to this when it's dry. Alrighty, that trans is out of the Merc, and now time to take a look at something on the Caprice because she might be hurt. Well, it is multiple days later, and I still have not even sanded this first layer of normal filler on the hood. So I feel very strung out, but I'm still going to try to do this, and then go do yard work, and then come back to this, and go back and forth. So I don't know how much progress I'm going to make today, but I plan on trying to get this thing like banged out, hopefully within the next couple days. So, see what I can do. Well, I can't tell if it looks better or if it looks worse. And again, mind you guys, this is like the first big bodywork thing I've ever done. So I didn't expect to, nail this on my first try, like my first round of this filler. I figured I was gonna have to do like 2 rounds of filler because I figured I was gonna oversand or not lay enough in certain spots, which is exactly what happened. So, got everything knocked down, pretty fair amount. A few spots I started to break back down through to that seam of the scoop to the metal hood. So there's quite a few areas that need to be built up just a tiny bit more. I need to leave more material, which is just something I'm not, I haven't gotten it through to my head yet that I need to leave more material rather than just, take off all the material. This top area is definitely going to need another skim coat as well. I didn't even bother sanding this area totally because I can just tell that again, I didn't lay enough in certain areas, laid too much in some other areas, so it's all a learning curve. This front edge actually looks pretty good though. Feels nice and smooth, everything feels good, no matter what way you touch it. So we might have one section that's good, but really, I'm gonna do another round of filler everywhere essentially. And I think one of the last things I'll worry about is these body lines here, because we essentially have to create them. So I think when I go to sand down this next round of filler, which I'm hoping is gonna be the last one, we can work on those body lines and kind of get everything in like a roughed in state. So maybe at that point we can seal it or, you know, prime the whole hood, and then from there work out the last kinks. So a while back, I bought one of these kits off Amazon, and I've never even opened it. But I figure this is the best time to try it out because I have this nice little dent in this fender. So thankfully, we can get to it from the back side, which might be hard for you guys to see from back there, but I can see where the hard crease is. So I'm gonna try to get out as much as I can, and then obviously use filler on top of it. And then the front of this fender, where the headlight goes, has some paint flaked off with some rust. So we'll have to wire wheel that down and treat it. And then I guess figure out how to pull the badge off, and then it should be good to scuff and shoot. So with my lack of knowledge on bodywork, I think we need to take the highest point of this and put it back. So we're just gonna. Oh, that's actually much better than I was expecting. Let me rip the paint off this thing, and then we'll see what we're actually working with. It took me literally 2 seconds, and I basically just took this guy, put it up behind it, this contoured, this bend of the fender the best, put this up behind it, and just gave a couple very light taps with this, and it is very close. Obviously, you can still see the little spots from when I first hit it with the sharp end. I'm sure if I sat here long enough, I could probably work this out, but body filler. So that'll just get a tiny little bit of filler over it to smooth it out. And then any spots where I care what the paint looks like that had rust, I took them all down to bare metal just so that we don't have to worry about that happening again. So I'm assuming they were probably just rock chips or something and eventually turned to a little bit of rust. It's not like it's pitted or anything. It was more so just surface rust wherever there was not paint. So now we got to pop this piece off. We need to take the GTO badge out. Actually, before I do those two things, I'm going to put a little bit of filler on there, and while it's drying, then I will remove both of these, and maybe I'll look into getting some new badges for this thing, since I can guarantee this is going to break when I pull it off. I want to see the hood sort of in one color tonight after I sand out the couple areas that I added a little bit more to. This thing's never going to be perfect, honestly. I could put about another week of time into this, and I'll be at the point of I'm just adding so much filler to fix the waviness of the hood scoop, it's not worth it. So we're kind of at that point where it's like maybe good enough, but again, I want to see it in one color with some filler primer, see what we're working with there. But still got to do that stuff to the fender. But I figure we will jump over to the front bumper. We got to take out these awesome SAP grills. No, they're not real ones, but they're good ones. So we got to take out the SAP grills, and I also want to pull the fog lights out just so I don't mess those up. I guess the side markers as well. And I figure we can get our little bit of filler that we're going to need to blend this patched in center section. For those who don't know, this bumper had a huge hole in it, and I essentially cut the center section out of another bumper and put it right there. So got to pull the grills out at least to get that filler on there, get it cleaned up. So maybe I'll deal with the lighting stuff later. But again, I want to see this thing in primer tonight. Well, filler primer, not actual like fully sealed primer. So here's how the hood currently sits. I threw some filler primer on it last night, let it dry overnight, and then today wiped down the hood again, went and got more filler primer and sprayed basically heavier in the areas where the Bondo is still kind of showing through. I know the Bondo is basically going to absorb whatever you put on top of it. So that's why some areas are heavily sprayed compared to others, which I would have thought they would have dried the same color. But this thing feels pretty good. So our sides, our front, the other side, and our body lines actually look pretty damn decent. It's nice seeing it in one color. Unfortunately, I've come to face the reality that this thing is never going to be perfect. Now, clearly, I'm not a body guy. I really don't know what I'm doing. I've just watched plenty of YouTube videos in the past of other content creators doing this kind of stuff. Well, not this exactly, but doing body work on like old beat up shit boxes and making them look pretty damn good. But they always do usually throw out there like, it's not perfect. If you saw it in person, you would understand, sort of one of those deals. But on camera, they look phenomenal. So I'm sure this is probably good. If I can paint this correctly, if I can get the paint to lay down right, this is probably gonna look amazing on camera. But in person, I know there's going to be flaws, there's gonna be defects, there's gonna be little things that I miss, but most importantly, the top section isn't really that straight. Now again, it's really throwing it off because of this dark area, but I got this section pretty smoothed out for, you know, what it is. But running my hand along it, you can feel like a little wave here and there. And again, I really, from square one, should have just started with a different scoop. I should not have started with this one, or I should have done more extensive fiberglass work to this one rather than just kind of throw it on and attempt to body work it. So past Tyler said, oh, that's a future Tyler problem. Well, future Tyler is now dealing with it, and I don't like it. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how it came out. I got a lot of time into this thing, more than I would like to admit. But I think for a homebrew job, maybe essentially just kind of learning as I go, she ain't too bad, folks. She ain't too bad. So before I actually prime this, I do have some of this stuff, which I believe we're basically going to use for very small imperfections. So any spots like this, you know, like that little spot, there's spots all over that are gonna need that. So I think we basically are gonna have to do a very light sanding on this, or clean it, put the spot putty stuff in a lot of spots, and then do a nice brief sanding on it. Nothing crazy, we're not trying to knock it down flat, we're just more so kind of trying to, you know, make it good. But yeah, so that's pretty good. Now I'm at the point where I will throw some filler onto here, onto there. While they're drying, I'll do something. Really, I should start cleaning up and organizing stuff and getting ready for paint, but I'm still kind of scared of that idea. So I'm just gonna put it off to the last second. While the bumper and the fender filler does its thing, I was like, oh, let me clean the hood off and, you know, put some spot putty on it while I'm on my downtime. I for sure thought that these dark areas were just from like where I did not put another coat of primer. It's literally just overspray dust. That's insane. Let me get this thing cleaned up and then I'll show you guys how she looks. Well, it's with it wiped off. You can clearly see where I did not put a second coat down, but she looks pretty good, folks. She don't look too bad. Now that I've come to terms with it ain't gonna be perfect, I'm calling this pretty good. Definitely still some spots that need some love, but like I said, now we're gonna hop on putting some spot putty down to fill in all these kind of little air pockets and little tiny imperfections before we do the real primer. Well, it would appear I have found a few pinholes, to say the least. Well, it would appear TJR auto body ain't too shabby. This feels pretty damn nice. So hopefully it looks nice. And there was a couple chips taken out on the edge of this fender, so just put a tiny little bit filler in there and primer over that as well. I still have a couple bare metal spots where I got rid of the rust that need to be either epoxy primed or self-etch primer. I think that's actually what I have, so that'll go on the bare metal. But the hood is kind of in its final form as it sits. I'm not going to be doing any more, you know, technical body work to it. I got just about most of the imperfections out with that spot putty stuff. So there is like 2 more spots that I might throw it on and just work them right back out. But for the most part, the hood is done. I have gone over it with my block sander over there. So I think I did it with 220, and this is the filler primer. So again, we are going to be spraying actual primer on these panels before we paint them. and I had totally forgotten about it, but I did plastic weld the holes closed where the plate bracket was on this bumper too, so that's why I extended the primer and the bodywork out there. But everything here came out pretty damn nice. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm pretty stoked with how everything looks. After all that, this is where we're going to be wrapping it up. If you guys want to support the channel more than you already do and be able to help fund stuff like this, then down below in the description will be a link to pick up some TJR Auto merch. But as I always say, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I truly do appreciate it. I am so excited to progress with this project and really kick it up to the next notch and have the GTO just that much closer to being a complete project. But really, projects are never complete. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you guys in the next one.